Hello everyone, my name is Protasilaos, also known as Prot. In this video I want to do some philosophy. I want to expound on the question, why are the Greek gods naked? Why do they appear naked in so many representations? Why is that? The short version of what I'm about to discuss is that the Greeks appreciated honesty and excellence. Excellence of a collective sort. This is not the same as individual excellence, but it is related. We will see. I will discuss this at length, but before I do that, I want to give you some context of where I am, what is happening here. I am on one of my long walks, and as you can see behind me, this is my mountain. And what I want to do is switch to the rear camera so that you get to enjoy the view. So let me do that and I will continue talking. I have to pause while I perform the switch because the capturing of the audio is interrupted. So yeah, here I am. Let me actually change the zoom to 0.5 because I think this gives you a wider angle. I don't know if it actually is wider, but I think it looks more real like this. So yeah, I am on one of my long walks. If you watched my previous philosophy video, the one on seeking pleasures, I walked a very long distance and I reached a vineyard, and from there I took a look in that direction and I could see there. Right now I am further away from that spot, so you can infer that if that video was over an hour long, that I have also been walking more than an hour to reach this point. And in fact, this is my second walk of the day. I think the time now is 10 o'clock, and earlier in the morning I went for a long walk with my dogs. They need the long walk, but they have to go early because it's summertime and it's really warm for them. I think today is the 18th of August 2024. It's Sunday, but I'm not sure if it's the 18th. I didn't actually check. Anyway, let's get on the topic at hand. About the Greeks. About the Greek religion, about the gods that are often represented in naked form. And it's not just gods, right? Heroes as well, mythical heroes, they will appear naked too. So it raises the question, why did the Greeks have that kind of aesthetics? Were they indecent? Because now we relate decency with not showing skin, basically. So were the Greeks indecent? Was this pornography throughout? And I think the answer is much more nuanced than that. The ancient Greeks were big on sport. They had all these religious festivals. The best known are the Olympics. We still do them. The Olympics are, of course, a religious festival for the Greeks. It's even in the name. It's for the Olympic gods. And they had many games like those. Of course, the Olympics were the main one, but they would have many others. The Corinthian Games, the Pan-Athenian Games, and so on. And so sport was a big part of the life of the Greeks. Furthermore, the Greeks believed in various ways that the body is something to be respected, because in a way, even if you believe that the soul is transcendent, the soul is now inside of the body. So if you respect your soul, you have to also respect the vessel that carries it. And of course, one way to respect this vessel, this body, is to keep it in a good, healthy state. And one way to do that is to be active. If you are sitting around all day, then you are not giving your body what it needs, and by extension, if you believe that there is a soul, you are not paying attention to your soul either. So the Greeks did believe in the body and in the soul, and they understood them as a system that in our experience is inseparable. There is no such thing as a human experience that is bodiless. And by the same token, there is no such thing as a human experience that is soulless. So we have that. We have the practical union, the unity, the inseparability, the inalienability of one from the other. They always go together, body and soul. They are one. They may be discussed as two because they can be conceived as separate, but for the human experience, they are always one. So the Greeks are big on sport. The Greeks have a religious understanding of the body as something they must respect, as something that is given to them as a vessel for their soul, and so it's something that they have to treat kindly. And the Greeks were also polytheists, and this is important because wherever they would turn their attention, they would see God, they would see the divine. Of course, we know about the 12 Olympian gods, but these are not the only gods, and definitely not what every Greek would believe in. The gods are innumerable. There is no fixed number to them. The god of each community would be the one closest to them, like this mountain. This mountain sustains us. Here we will find shelter. Here we will find fruits. Here we will find water. For our purposes, this mountain is our immediate God. This is what the Greeks would say. And they would respect the nature all around them because the nature all around them was their mother in a way. It was their immediate milieu without which they wouldn't exist. And the Greeks would poetically describe this as everything having a spirit. And so you can read about the nymphs, for example, and there are the nymphs of the trees, the nymphs of the waters, the nymphs of the mountains, and so on. Lots and lots of different spirits, and these spirits are inside of each and every form of life in this cosmic continuum of life. So it's not just about humans. Now, why does this polytheism matter? It matters because when you are observing nature, you understand that the kind of moral statements that you will make about humans do not apply to nature at large. And this is critical because it changes how you understand the world and how you frame the human experience within the broader confines of this world. If you think that the whole world was created for humans, then of course you have an anthropocentric, a human-centric understanding of morality. But if you hold the view that, well, humans are but one of the myriads of life forms, then you can only say that, well, I can interpret the world from my perspective because I cannot avoid having a perspective, but I understand that this greater world does not revolve around me and does not revolve around humanity at large. So, when we humans sit down and write our rules and formulate our moral codes, we do it for humans. But what we say doesn't extend to non-human life forms. Can I go down this path? No, I think not. That leads to the vineyard. So let's go here. And what this means in practice is that your morality and your moral judgments and your big mouth, more generally, is always limited to humans. And so you understand how things are out there without pretenses, without normativity involved. So when you see, for example, a wolf preying on some deer, you take it for what it is. It's not good or bad. This is an irrelevant question. It's just a fact of life. Good or bad, these are relatively small magnitudes that only concern human affairs, but they are not cosmic magnitudes. In the cosmos, there is no such thing as good and bad. There is no pure good and there is no pure bad. The Greeks think of everything as admixture. So there is no such thing as a pure instantiation of something. It's always mixed with something else. And so what this means is that you have to be honest about what you see out there. You have to be honest about the things in the world. And when you take that kind of attitude, of the non-human centric attitude, and you bring it back into the human world, well, you have to be honest that humans have a body. And you have to be honest about how that body looks like. And you don't need to couch your understanding of decency in terms of how little skin the human is showing. Because it is not indecent to have skin. It is not indecent to show that. Because that is what your nature makes you have. There is an element of sexuality here. Because of course, in our modern world especially, when we see a naked body, immediately we associate it with sex. It is a pornographic representation and so on. But this is not necessarily the case. Like, exposure to naked bodies in a certain context can actually make those less sexualized. It can appear desexualized. And to return to the point about sport, if you have ever done any kind of team sport competitively, such as me, I played football, soccer in a semi-professional capacity until I got injured. Anyway, if you have ever done sport in that way, you have most likely been in a changing room with your teammates. And of course, in the changing room, there are naked bodies. There are naked bodies of people changing clothes. There are naked bodies of people taking a shower after the game. So this is not uncommon. And speaking for myself here, when we would do that in our football team, you would have like 11 to 18 people being there, depending on the game, depending on what we were doing. And at some point they were all naked. And there was no instance of messing with the other person's body. There was no instance of doing those silly little games, hee hee hee, ha ha ha, you know, and laughing about it. There was none of that. It was a mature treatment of the other person, treating them respectfully and not seeing in them just some object of sexual desire. Of course, a naked body can be that, can be the object of sexual desire, but in the right context, it is not. Furthermore, the idea that just showing somebody any degree of skin and that forces them to lose control of themselves and become this beast that only seeks sexual pleasure is, I think, kind of dehumanizing, is, I think, disrespectful to the person. Like, why do you feel triggered in that way? Can you not control yourself? Can you not be in charge of your emotions? Why are you so lustful? Why are you so imbalanced in that regard? You need to work on it. So the idea that, oh, you must not show skin because somebody will be triggered is, I think, wrong. The problem is with that somebody. Back to the point about honesty, though. So I said that the Greeks are observing nature all around them. They understand that their moral code is limited to themselves, and they understand that they cannot pontificate about how everything should be. And eventually they bring that insight back into their understanding of the human experience and of human affairs. So the naked body is, in this regard, a recognition of the fact that our morality doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Our value judgments, more broadly, do not matter in the grand scheme of things. These are our affairs, but our affairs are too small. The world expands well beyond us and despite us. So, in the image of a naked body is also the nakedness of human culture. Is also the fact that you cannot afford to hide what is actually there, the basis of it. You cannot afford to hide it from the gods. And here the gods means from the world at large. Like, you cannot hide from the world at large. This is your nature. This is who you are. You cannot escape from that. There is no concealing it. Apart from honesty in this way, there is also a certain honesty in competition. In the context of sport, when you are competing in the old world, of course, when you are competing, you want to make it as fair as possible, and one way to do that is to not have any clothes. So there were games in ancient Greece, there were games where the athletes would compete naked. And the idea was, okay, well, let's have the most fair system we can get, which is that nobody will rely on their shoes, the shoe quality, or nobody will be impeded by their clothes, how they are rubbing against them or whatever. Let's do it this way. And that was one of the sports. So it has also this practical application. Now, whether that is useful or not, that's another discussion. That is beside the point. It is one of the considerations. But I think the real consideration is that of honesty. and that of the non-human centric understanding of the world. Now, there is also excellence, and there is also aesthetics. Of course, the bodies that are shown are athletic bodies. And as you know, sport is an achievement. Sport is meritocratic. You cannot cheat your way in sport. You cannot go and run a marathon if you haven't trained for it for many, many years. Even something much less intense, such as this walk I am doing here. You cannot do this if you haven't put in the work. You cannot just cheat your way into it. And while being lazy the whole time, suddenly start doing this. It doesn't happen. With sport, the way you achieve anything is by working every day with consistency, with commitment, and with honesty, in other words. And we come back to this theme of honesty. Because if you are not honest with yourself, you won't be putting in the work. You will be cheating and you will be like, haha, nobody saw me, so I will be fine. Well, guess what? You won't. Because again, you are naked towards the cosmos, because the gods know that you are cheating. And they will show you that they know this fact when you try to compete and you cannot. When you try to run and you run out of breath. So of course you cannot hide this fact, right? And again, we see here a metaphor for nakedness. And this metaphor, of course, is expressed poetically, it's expressed artistically with actual nudity. So in sport, we achieve stuff by working hard with commitment. And of course, this is a form of excellence. And excellence is the same, not just in sport. Excellence is the same with everything. You want to be a scholar? Well, you have to be studying for a very long time. You won't be a scholar just by reading one book and watching a couple of videos. That won't work. You have to do it for an extensive period of time. You have to make it your life's goal. And the same for everything we do. You want to be a barber? Well, you have to know how to hold a razor. You have to practice that for a very long time. You don't just pick a razor and you become a barber. Everything we do, from the most basic thing you can imagine. Think of the waiter that serves you your meal at the restaurant, or the bartender who will prepare the drinks for you. Have you ever tried to do that? It's not easy. Again, you have to practice. You have to do it again and again. You have to have your mind put into it. And you have to have the requisite commitment. Excellence, then, is something that does not come about easily. But it's something that we consider worthwhile. Like, we enjoy a performer who will dance nicely and will sing nicely and will play music well. And that is excellence, because that doesn't happen by faking it. That happens with a lot of work. We enjoy when we drive on the road and the roads are stable and they are easy to drive. That again does not come about easily, because the engineers who did that, they didn't just fake their way into it. They had to study a lot. They had to practice a lot. Again, the same idea. So even if we don't have a culture that overtly praises excellence, we still appreciate it every single day for every single thing that we do. We don't like things to be done half-heartedly. We don't like things to be done in a way that is fake. We won't accept it. We want excellence. And excellence, when it comes to how you can physically represent it, is through the athletic body. The athletic body, which here has to be naked. And so we see this. Now, it's very important to take a step back and understand that excellence, let's say, of an athlete is not limited to what the athlete does. Because for any given person to be able to commit to their task, many other things around them have to be a given. They have to be provided by other people. Let's think about the athlete. There is this elite athlete, and they are spending all of their day training. So they go to the gym in the morning, they go to the gym in the evening, and in between they may take a nap. This athlete can do this kind of lifestyle because there are other people who take care about things such as, well, there will be food available for this athlete. Somebody has taken care of that. There have been farmers that have been working with the land and doing all the work to supply vegetables so that this athlete can have vegetables for their diet. There are other people who will drive the trucks to bring them to market so that these vegetables can actually be supplied to customers such as this athlete. There are people who take care that the roads are clean and that there even are roads so that this athlete can go back and forth from their house to their gym. There are people who take care of the security so that this athlete can go there without being attacked along the way, and so on, so forth, for all the things in life that we tend to not think about. We tend to take for granted. But if you actually pay attention, nothing there should be taken for granted. What is the given is the state of nature. If you are in the state of nature, every single move you do may be your last, because you may be attacked by a tiger or a bear or whatever. You may not find food. You may have to go to great lengths to forage or to hunt or whatever. But if you have a culture built around you with many people doing what they have to do, then you don't need to struggle for survival. You can focus on the other things, and thus you can be excellent in what you are doing. So one will be an excellent athlete, another will be an excellent engineer, a third will be an excellent scholar, a fourth will be an excellent musician, and so on, so forth, for all the things that people do. And they can't do it exactly because there is a collective around them that guarantees the necessary conditions for those talents to come to the fore, for those talents to be developed. And so excellence is not an individual's achievement. Yes, the individual puts in the work. Yes, the individual deserves credit in an immediate sense, but the individual would have done absolutely nothing if they were an individual without a society around them. And so the individual achieves whatever they achieve because of the collective. And so we all achieve something together. And so excellence, when it is appreciated and when it is lauded and when it is displayed all around you, it is not done in a condescending way. It is not done in a way to make you jealous. Like, oh, there is this athletic body, you know, in this statue, and that body looks great, and I don't look like that, so I feel jealous. This is not the right attitude. The right attitude is that there is this athletic body there, and I may not be like it, but for me the reminder is that whatever it is I am doing, I have to do it as best I can, the way an athlete performs their sport as best they can. And so it's not about comparing yourself to the statue, comparing yourself to the God in that regard. You won't be God. That's not the point. The point is, what are you aspiring towards? If you don't have the high standards there, what do you have instead? Do you prefer mediocrity? So would you be okay if the roads were not nice for you to drive your car? Would you be okay if your car was a complete mess and you could die any moment by driving it? Would you be okay if your phone, these fancy gadgets that you have, were not products that were expertly crafted? Would you be okay if they were, you know, some haphazard contraption? And we can continue saying the same for everything. And the answer is that nobody would be okay with that. So we want excellence. We want it in our life. And by seeing the excellent, we don't have to feel jealous. We have to know that in my little world, in the little activities that I do, whatever it is I am doing, I have to do it as best I can. I am a waiter, I am a bartender. I will serve drinks as best I can, and that's fine. I am a construction worker. I will try to build the best house I can. I am a farmer. I will try to work the land to the best of my abilities. And so on for everything. And I won't feel jealous because I don't have a certain type of body. That is fine. We all have different abilities. Some are athletic. Some are more intellectual. Others are more sociable. And we cannot all be equally good at everything. This is impossible because of the diversity of the human condition. Each of us has a different configuration of talents, a different set of skills. And so it's not about all of us being the same. It's not about the homogenization of our species. It's about each of us having their goal in life to excel at what they are good at. And excel is not about being the best in the world. Excel is about being honest with yourself and not faking it, not cheating. You have to put in the hard work. You have to do it in earnest. So again, we see the topic of honesty coming up, and we'll see how this relates to excellence. By the way, folks, I am very far away from home, and this is the other side of the mountains. I don't know if you can see it here because of the camera, but down there is the sea. So from here I can see the sea, and it's wonderful. I was born and raised in Greece. You will probably know this already. And for most Greeks, the sea is part of them. You cannot think of your life without the sea. And even though I have been living in these mountains for almost 10 years now, the sea is something that will never be alien to me. I will always feel a special way about the sea. So yeah, it's really nice here. Anyway, back to the point. So why are the gods naked then? The gods are naked exactly for all the reasons that I have mentioned. Because the Greeks, in short, had different values than the values we have nowadays. Though I think we are actually gradually and haphazardly, perhaps by accident, but we are gradually rediscovering things that the ancients knew very well. And we are rediscovering those, maybe in a clumsy way, but I think the trend is there for sure. Like some years ago, not that many years ago, some decades ago, it would be indecent, highly inappropriate for a woman to show skin. And by skin, I don't mean the explicitly sexual parts. I mean like from her ankle and a bit up. And some time ago this was unacceptable, and now it is totally okay. Of course, you will find people who are very socially conservative who will complain about that, how so-called modern women are a lost cause and whatnot. But I think it's not like that. I think we are just clumsily and without the requisite values, we are clumsily rediscovering that it is totally okay to not think that the body is just an object of sexual desire. It is totally okay to be cool about it and to understand that the body is just a body. And there are some situations where it is involved in sex, but those are specific. It's not all about sex. And I think we are moving in that direction. Of course, we are also moving in many other directions, so it's not clear where we will end. I think nowadays there is this almost shame for being excellent. Like there is this idea in schools to not hurt any child's feeling, so we have this all numbers win kind of attitude by the teachers, where it is like, oh no, it doesn't really matter what you do, anything you do is okay. And I think that this is not the right approach. I think that excellence has to be highly respected, but it has to be done in a way that recognizes diversity. Like an excellent musician, for example, is not the same as an excellent athlete, but they are both excellent in their own regard. So if I say, wow, what wonderful music you play, I don't mean to say that, oh, but I don't care about you because you are not an athlete. Of course not, that is silly. So what we want is to say that, yes, try as best you can, but we have a diverse set of skills, and so excellence will not be uniform. It's not one single thing, and we cannot have different types of it. It is diverse. So I think in our world, at least in the part of the world where I live, I think we are moving in the wrong direction when it comes to how we interpret excellence and how we encourage people to behave in the world, where we downplay excellence and we almost don't want to admit that it is even there, and we promote mediocrity. And even mediocrity is a high standard in that regard. We promote laziness, we promote idleness, and we promote complacency. And if we are all complacent, where will the good things come from exactly? Where will all they come from? Where will you get your good technology from? Where will you get your good infrastructure from? Where will you get your good food from? And so on and so forth. So yes, there is that. The Greeks then didn't see nudity as an insult. They didn't see nudity as an invitation for sex. And if I am showing some skin, then it means that I am asking you to come and deal with. No, it's not that. You have to control yourself. And you have to recognize that, yes, I will be showing some skin. There is nothing wrong with that. And I am doing this in honesty. I am doing this because I recognize what the human condition is. Finally, another important aesthetic consideration is the specifics of those athletic bodies that we see. If you have noticed, the ancient Greek statues are athletic, yes, but they are not over the top athletic, right? Like, you don't see the bodybuilder type, the modern bodybuilder type, you don't see that in the statues. You see somebody who is fit, yes, but who is not over the top fit. Whereas if you see a modern bodybuilder, it's like a mountain of muscles. And you are like, wow, what is happening here? How do you do all that? And I think the reason for that is to emphasize that it is not about having as many muscles as possible, as much raw strength as possible. It's not that. It's to show that here is what we are working towards, and here is a practical way to demonstrate that. But our goal is to not focus on that. It is not to make your life's mission to just show off your muscles. It is more about what is your attitude towards life. Do you want to try hard for stuff? Or do you want to find excuses and just don't admit to your idleness, your laziness? So, yeah, that is a different aesthetic. I think in our days, nudity is overdone. I think in our days it is commodified, and of course commodified in an implicit way, but also commodified in an explicit way in the form of pornography. It's a huge industry. In an implicit way, it is commodified when, for example, you see some advertisement about ice cream or whatever, and instead of it being about the ice cream, you get these strange scenes that are innuendo, and you're like, what is going on here? Are they advertising ice cream, or is it something else, and should I wait for the next scene? And you see this with a lot of ads. Like, in some way or another, they will commodify the naked human body. And for me, this is not nice. This is not nice because, of course, it is messing up with people. It is messing up with people to extract money from them, of course. It is done in an unscrupulous way, and it is devoid of values. because all it wants to do is make money. And making money, of course, is not a problem per se, but making money in a manipulative way by messing up with people's sexual drive or desires and expectations more generally, I think that is not nice. So having different values, the values of honesty, the values of excellence that I already discussed, means that nowadays you don't want to show a naked body. That nowadays, even though nudity is common, even though it is everywhere, you have to distance yourself from what is happening out there, and you have to do it differently. You have to show honesty and excellence in a different way, even if you agree with how the Greeks did it. And I am speaking for myself here. I agree. I like the Greek aesthetic. I like honesty. I like hard work. I don't like fooling around. I don't like cheating my way to achieve something. If I do it because I can. And if I achieve anything, I know that I achieved it because I am in a social milieu that empowers me to do it. I didn't achieve it by myself. And I know that I seek excellence in everything I do, and I recognize the excellence in everything that the people around me do. And so I respect them and they respect me. But because the world all around us has a twisted view and use of nudity, of the naked human body, then I choose not to do that nowadays. But if the world was different, then of course I would reconsider and maybe say, yes, let's have naked statues, yes, let's compete at a sport without any clothes. But now I wouldn't say that. I think that is the wrong thing to do. The right thing to do now is to wear clothes and to lead by example in a different way. To lead by example in the things that you do and to lead them to their completeness as best as you can. And that is wonderful. That is nice. And that is the spirit of the ancient Greek world and the spirit of the Greek religion. By the way, folks, wonderful view all around me. This side of the mountain is much more arid than the other side of the mountain. Look at this here. Of course, last year there was a wildfire here, and we can actually see here these are completely burnt. So actually it's not as arid as I think. It's just that most of it was destroyed, but hopefully it will recover, and maybe next year it will be more green again. Already, if we see, there are some patches of green here and there, so eventually I think it will be good. So yes, this is all I had to discuss today, folks. How long have I been recording? 49 minutes already. And so I will conclude now. I will be heading back home. I have already been walking for a very long time, and there is still almost an hour from now to get home. So yes, let me switch to the rear camera and then I will salute you. So yes, there is that. Again, we don't want to just see an appearance like an ancient Greek statue that is naked and rush to judge it and say, oh look, the Greeks, they were, I don't know, they had this pornographic mind or whatever. I think that is irresponsible, and I think that we can do better than that. We want to understand those people. We want to understand their values. We want to understand their ethos, their religion, their worldview. And maybe there is something for us there to learn. Something for us modern people who don't have the same lifestyle, who maybe don't have the exact same values. But still, we may learn something from the ancients, and we may take some of those values and revive them. And revive them in our own way. I'm not saying that we must go and become ancient Greeks. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that we can be eclectic. We can pick and choose. And we can find the things that are useful to us. The things that are more profound. The things that hold value and stand the test of time. And those, give them the importance they deserve and incorporate them in our everyday life. So this is all for today, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. By the way, I am growing my hair long again, and I am in this awkward phase where I cannot actually tie it all. So some stays tied, some flies around, and I suffer in the meantime. So yeah, eventually it will grow, but now it is really, really bad. Anyway, thank you for your time, folks. Take care. I hope you enjoyed the view of my mountains. I am heading back home. It's a lovely day, really warm though. And yes, I will talk to you again next time. That's all for now. Goodbye, folks. Take care.